Thursday. Flaming Dragon Friday Eve. Framing! Before we get into it, got a great show for you today. As usual, a lot to get to, including Matt Muscona is going to join us. Justine said they're doing an Office spinoff on the show, The Office.
Office spinoff, yes, is confirmed. First official details of who's the. So it sounds like they say the reboot of The Office that we've all been talking about for 6 months is being described as a spinoff, given that it will take place in a newspaper.
Okay. So they're not trying to just add more seasons.
This mockumentary will be set in the same universe as NBC's The Office.
Okay.
But it has Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina Pistachio.
The Teenage Witch?
And Pistachio.
Sabrina the Pistachio?
Yeah. You know that guy. You know that guy.
Oh, that's he was the killer on that movie with Steve Carell. I bet that's how he got that gig on the
and then
Office.
Sabrina and Pistachio.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Look, it's spinoff good as long as they're just not trying to like add seasons to The Office.
Oh God!
Like, you gotta have some of the same
with
characters,
the spinoff.
right? Some of the same characters?
No. Let her die.
No. Like,
let her go. It's some things don't need to get brought back.
Yeah, spinoff and like sequel or reboot to me is like a totally
it just ruined. Like, I don't need to. There's 47 Spider-Man movies.
Well, they said, yeah, Spider-Man. That's a different. They said they're gonna remake Tombstone.
See why?
No,
even Roadhouse the other day.
Listen, you think these protests that are going on are bad? Try and remake Tombstone. That's the one.
Why are we remaking Tombstone?
No, because
even Roadhouse.
Because
I saw Roadhouse.
The new Roadhouse movie sucked.
I saw Roadhouse. I'm like, oh, I could watch that right now. And then I thought, why would I do that when the other one's perfect?
No, it's nobody can come up with any new ideas. The only thing they do is like turn the Little Mermaid into like a dude with glasses that's from like Serbia or something.
Yeah.
What'd they say in South Park?
He plays for the Nuggets.
Yeah. Let's just make it. Shut up and make it gay.
Make it lame.
Make it lame.
I don't know.
It's look. I'll give it a chance. Because it's a spinoff. I did see yesterday though they were talking about the Mount Rushmore of sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
What the 4 were. It's an interesting question because there's some good ones out there. You really find out what people think about Seinfeld.
Friends, The Office.
See, I had The Office, South Park.
That's not a sitcom?
Yeah, it's classified.
That counts
so
as
is
a
The Simpsons.
sitcom?
So is The Simpsons.
We're counting animated series now. That's a whole different
David,
category.
I looked this up.
That's like men and women's sports.
I thought the same thing.
No.
Google sitcoms.
Oh! I have a computer.
Live action.
The Simpsons was on.
All
there
right,
as
live
well.
action sitcom.
Live action sitcoms. See now the suits are messed up.
Is Parks and Rec good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got to give it another.
If you like The Office,
I've tried.
If you like The
Have you
Office,
seen New Girl?
You'll
I
like
don't watch New Girl.
Just watch it, dude.
You told me to watch Shogun. Now you tell me not to watch Shogun.
The ending was a
lied
letdown.
about Shogun.
The ending was a letdown.
You lied.
Good series.
To David.
Ending was a letdown.
You lied to
So it's
David.
Game of Thrones Part 2.
Basically, yeah.
You lied to David, and
I did not lie.
anybody's
I don't
forgiven
lie,
you
David,
anytime
to your
soon.
face.
Brian Kelly says LSU is not in the market of buying players. Matt Muscona is going to join us to discuss. The Knicks take a 2-game lead over the Pacers, but they get a little beat up. And Austin Rivers should probably get beat up for saying that a lot of NBA players could play in the NFL. I'm Jay Crane, and welcome to Crane & Company. I said a few years ago, when Brian Kelly was hired at LSU, that he was going to be the stepdad that you never knew you needed. That he would come in, he'd make you actually clean your room, stop hanging out with people that aren't helping you, and don't talk to your mother that way. And you wouldn't appreciate him until you graduated law school first in your class and took a big-time job right away that was financially lucrative. And heading into 2024, he needs to be that more than ever. Now, I'm sure you've heard his comments about NIL and not wanting players that want to go to LSU solely for the money. We're going to play that in a minute and dive into it with Matt Muscona. But the fact of the matter is, LSU shouldn't have to be winning bidding wars to get defensive linemen. For the last couple of years, they have not been themselves as a team or as an identity. In my opinion, LSU is not USC and Lincoln Riley. They are not just a high-flying offensive team that hopes to God to be able to stop you every once in a while. Deep down, LSU really is a defensive powerhouse who relishes on knocking the offense's teeth through the back of their throat, a team that strikes the fear of God in their opponent when the tape comes on and when they get off the bus. Now, when LSU is truly cooking, they are balanced but pissed off. And lately, they've really just traded place and become the old Ole Miss. I never thought there would come a day where a Lane Kiffin coach team would be feared more on the defensive side of the ball than the boys down in Mordor, Louisiana. Now, watching LSU be this bad on defense, as I've said multiple times, is more awkward than finding out that your dad really can't fight. Now, if I know that, then Brian Kelly knows that, and maybe Blake Baker can fix it. But defensive linemen ought to be lining their ass up out the door to play for LSU, because deep down, that's who you guys truly are. It should be a pipeline straight to the first round of the NFL draft. So whether you agree with what Brian Kelly said or not, it's time for him to lay down the law. It's time to maybe be hated while the kid goes upstairs and blows off steam in his room and doesn't get to use the computer. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it. And if he does, not only will the kid end up better, but the purple and gold will turn back into who they truly are. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver. And David, the comments about that Brian Kelly made about not in the market of buying players, it's something that went viral yesterday. I went on and talked about it on multiple shows. We're going to talk about it today. But just in general, you grew up in Statesboro, Georgia. You've watched LSU your whole life. Is this not the weirdest thing that you've ever, them being this bad consecutively on defense? I mean, we're not too far removed from when Alabama and LSU played maybe the greatest defensive game of all time, when it was the Pro Bowl of the NFL on one side against the Pro Bowl of the NFL on the other side.
Well, if you told Brian Kelly, we have one player here who will guarantee you a national championship, an undefeated season, if you paid him $1.5 million, he would say, how fast can we wire the guy the money? May have even done it before it was legal. I don't know. I don't know Brian Kelly. I don't know the way that he operated his program. So it's less about that. I mean, what Brian Kelly means to say here is the market value for these players and for LSU does not match their monetary request, right? I mean, this is business. This is money ball on the college football level, essentially. And so LSU fans don't care if he doesn't want to play players or not. They only care if you win, and they're looking to you as the chief executive to decide, is this guy worth this or not? One of the guys, was it Dominic Williams?
Yeah, Demonic or Dominic. I'm going to go Dominic.
Dominic or Demonic, whichever one. He had 3 sacks last year for TCU. Now, he's a great football player, but if you're asking to be the second highest paid person in the program behind Brian Kelly, I think people are looking at that saying, no, we just watched the University of Michigan have their own NIL problems and go undefeated and win a national championship because they developed players, they recruited, they formed those relationships, all the things Brian Kelly is saying. My only question now is when other players around the country hear this, because there's a difference in what Brian Kelly means to say and what he actually said, are other players going to hear this and think, well, maybe that's not the place for me because, you know what, I do kind of care about the money and I would like to get paid.
Yeah. And Blaine, I understand not wanting to overpay for anything. I don't want to overpay for a car. If I check the Carfax and it says that this car is worth this much because it's been through this, I understand wanting to get the best deal possible, not just in college football, but in life in general. But to Cohn's point, not just the LSU staff, if I said by paying this guy this amount of money, maybe it's $300,000 more than it should be, maybe it's a little bit more than that. If that could stop Ole Miss from coming in and running it through you for 317 yards and maybe helps you win that one game that could get you into the college football playoff, or maybe helps you be able to at least be decent on defense where you don't waste one of the best offenses we've ever seen with Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. and these other guys. I mean, at some point, again, like David said, you're paid to win. You think LSU fans are going to be like, you know what? We may have gone 8-4, but I'm sure glad we didn't spend that extra $300,000 on that defensive lineman.
I will say this. I think one, that kid who wanted $1.1 million, yeah, buddy, I'm not doing that. I mean, it's your money, it's your investment. And let's not talk about, if you watch that whole interview, which I did, Brian Kelly came out and said their NIL's fine. I mean,
they got money.
It's LSU's, it's not a money problem. All right, but he's talking, like, how are you supposed to, when a new guy comes in, you have to keep a culture. You have to keep a locker room. You're supposed to look guys, Will Campbell, who's going to be a first-round pick, probably a top 5 pick, in the eyes and say, hey, he's coming in, but he's going to make more money than you. That's a 3-year offensive line starter who's going to be a first-round pick. So there's levels to this stuff, what Brian Kelly has to do. You are paying, you're not only paying for a guy, but you're paying for your future as a coach. So excuse me if I'm picky, all right, where I'm going to put my money to keep my culture, because I plan to be here more than 1 year.
Well, that goes back to my whole point. How are we to the point where LSU is lacking interior defensive linemen?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, to me, that's the overarching thing here. It's not monetarily. There should be guys that are like, you know what? Boy, Florida's offering me $900,000. LSU's offering me $750,000, but if I go play the interior of the defensive line for LSU and the back end, I'm going to make more money. They've lost that. So going into, and they can get it back, it's LSU. But if I'm Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, I talked about this with another Blake Ruffino yesterday. Schematically, if you're not good in the interior of the defensive line, it's like not being good as a pass rusher. You have to now invent ways to do things that at a place like LSU, you should be able to do with 4 defensive linemen. If I can't rush the passer, I've got to start bringing pressure. I've got to rob Peter to pay Paul, which means I'm going to be shorter in the back end. Well, on the interior of the defensive line, if I'm not good enough to go out there with 4 guys and stop the run, what do I have to do? I have to start slanting. I have to start run stunning. I have to start playing games more consistently instead of going out there and being able to say, we're going to line up in an overfront. Give me 2 5s, give me a 3 to the strength, give me a shade to the backside, and we're going to kick your ass because that's who we are. Well, now we're having to slant. We're having to guess. And sometimes it works out. You may make a tackle for a loss. But just like when you have to pressure because you can't rush the passer, if they pick up the blitz, you are in trouble. If you stunt wrong, if you get caught out of your gap, I've seen this a million times. Not only is it a big run, it's a home run. Mm-hmm. So now Blake Baker has to invent ways to do simple things that at a place like LSU should not be a problem.
That's true. And that's something, being deficient on defense in general, but especially the defensive line, is something that LSU fans just aren't going to put up with. I think on the broader scale here, like the underlying sentiment of Brian Kelly's comments are, we're not in the short-term mercenary for hire game, right? And look, in a sport like basketball, where one player can dictate outcome more than any other sport, but even then it doesn't work a lot of times. Look at these teams that are getting put together. Every team Kevin Durant goes to is a big 3. Or we watch John Calipari, you know? I mean, we talk about him all the time putting these sorts of teams together. Even in that sport, it's not guaranteed to work. Baseball, the Yankees have signed the best players in the world every single year. They hadn't won a World Series in 14 years. Now, I will say, you look at Florida State last year. Florida State did a really good job with this, and they had an undefeated year, bringing in a guy like Keon Coleman, just an absolute star at wide receiver. So, of course, you know, we're going to continue to talk about what percentage should the transfer portal play in the roster building. I think you guys have broken it down really well. Yeah. But this idea that, hey, we're just going to give one guy all the money, I mean, I think that's the underlying sentiment of what Brian Kelly's trying to say.
And I think Brian Kelly's unbelievably smart. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the country. I know he has a plan. I know he understands their deficiencies and he has to be able to attack it. But it's just getting back to the point to who you really are at LSU.
Who you have to be.
Who you have to be. That's exactly right.
Like,
it's who you have to be.
We saw, like, you saw what Georgia and Bama and Michigan did.
Yeah.
All right. You went up front on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. This is the best last year. This is why an up-tempo team, a USC, will never win a national championship. You'll never do it. 10-3 is as good as you can play last year with the team that you had. There'll never be a team that can be that explosive on offense and that bad on defense. You'll never win more than 10 games. I think 10 games is the ceiling.
Well, and the reason for that, and it's something we talk about all the time, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, the offense is not going to operate at their highest efficiency for every game. You have to be able to win in multiple ways. I go back to the Joe Burrow LSU team. That is the best offense I've ever seen. With him and Justin Jefferson, I can go down the list. Even they, in a couple of those games, had to rely on the defense and the special teams to help win them. Go back to the Auburn game, right? It happens in everything. The Warriors didn't always shoot the three amazingly in every game. They had that historic regular season, had that run in the postseason. Some games, you have to win with the rebounding and defense, and they did. Baseball's the same thing in any sport. So if you're in some sort of regular season sport that then has a postseason that's single elimination or even double elimination, you have got to be able to win in multiple ways. That's why we always say the second best utility, past fertility, is versatility. Balance keeps you on the beam. Cliche this, cliche that. It's the truth. It's the truth. So at the end of the day, LSU has got to find a way to even the scales a little bit, because if you're relying on Garrett Nussmeier, who I think is a really good player, we had him as our number one new starting quarterback in the country. If you're relying on that offense to replicate what they did the year before with Jaden Daniels and just say, oh, the defense is going to be that bad, but we can be really, really good on offense again, that's not going to happen. LSU will have a better chance to win a national championship with Garrett Nussmeier and this offense being 3/4 as good, or maybe even less than that, but the defense being 50% better than it was last year.
And it should be an anomaly for Brian Kelly at LSU.
I agree with that.
Because if it were Lincoln Riley, okay, we've kind of come to know him as the guy who can create these incredible offenses, but the defense has been lacking. Even if this were Lane Kiffin, I could say, okay, I understand that. You had an unbelievable offense. The defense isn't great. You won 10 games. But Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame, was never known for having like these incredibly unbalanced teams where the offense was awesome and the defense wasn't good. I think he may never have another offense that good again. Granted, I mean, that was incredible what they were able to do, but they should have more balanced teams moving forward.
I think it's just not even Brian Kelly. LSU in general should have good defensive linemen.
It should be like fly to the light.
No matter the head coach. I mean, Glenn Dorsey, Spears, like not even D linemen, but what big names on defense have you heard out of LSU in the last couple of years?
Well, you know, Mason Smith was supposed to be the next guy up, and I know he was beat up and he was hurt. I know he got drafted in the NFL, and LSU is still so good. They're having defensive linemen drafted. But I'm just, again, when I think of LSU and what I saw growing up, every time that the team I rooted for had to play LSU, it was, I may not know a lot, but those guys on that front seven, they're coming, and they're bringing hell with them. And they're big, they're strong, they're freaky, and they're pissed. And that just hasn't been LSU. It just hasn't. But we want to know what you think. The phone lines are going to open at 7:15 a.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. We should have the number pinned in the chat, so you can call and let us know what you think. Going to get to the Booster Club in a second. But regardless if you're a fan of LSU, if you're a fan of Alabama, USC, Oregon, I don't know, the Canucks, if you're going to bet, betonline.ag is the place to do it. And we got this new beautiful, the BetOnline Jumbotron. Right, of life, loss, and love. But no, BetOnline, if you're a diehard sports fan and you're trying to find a website that's easy to navigate, that has all the spreads. I mean, it's not just sports. They got politics. They got all type of stuff that you can bet on. And with just a few clicks, you can place bets on your favorite teams or events from the comfort of your own home. So go to betonline.ag now to place your bets today. Use promo code BOOSTER, and you get a 50% instant deposit bonus of up to $1,000. That's betonline.ag. Use our promo code BOOSTER. Guys, we've been I'm almost nervous talking about it. And I know, Blaine, you kind of got screwed over yesterday with the Rangers. That was bad.
Oh,
that was bad what happened.
Oh, look, that doesn't hurt me.
I got to give you one that was bad. But, guys, we are on an absolute heater. I wonder if this is the betting gods are going to make us pay during football season.
I went 0-2 yesterday, so I don't.
I thought you went 1-1. They hit that the Nerfy. They had a doubleheader. I didn't know which game you picked.
Well, whichever one they didn't score.
Yeah, that's it.
We're back in it, baby.
BetOnline.ag, where the options are endless, and so is the bread. All right, let's get to the Booster.
Booster Club, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. It will get read. Get those feet moving. Don't be scared to say anything, but not everything. All right, let's start off with Luke Bayard. What's up, Luke? Says, look, we're not putting up with anymore. I'm walking on next week at nose tackle at LSU.
What did the Eagles fans say? It's like, listen, we're out here. We're hurt. We got to have practice players ready. Hell, I'm ready. I'm 22. I'm in the best shape of my life. I played 2 years. Varsity. Woo!
Love
How
it.
much you care, man?
Yeah.
Let's go to Deltona. Doug, #AskKranico. Should Blake Baker consider switching to a 3-man front and putting in an extra linebacker? LSU has good linebacker depth. I know that isn't what Baker wants to do, but he may not have a choice.
Well, look, you've got to be able to adjust, right? You've got to be malleable. 3-down stuff ends up turning into 4-down stuff most of the time. I don't suggest going to some 3-3-5 stack. You hate to be in that problem, but even if you go 3-down lineman and bring a linebacker, you still kind of got the same problem. Like you're going to have to witch and trick your way instead of being able to go line up out there in an over front, in an under front, in a solid front, in an eagle front, in an even front. Like you can't smoke and mirrors your way through this thing the whole time. It's just not going to work. Like you've got to be able to some point put your foot down and say, we're going to line up in our base stuff and we're just going to be better than you. That's what it comes down to. If you can't do that, you can do all the witchcraft and wizardry and all this stuff and draw it up and have a great time, but eventually you're going to get hit and you're going to get caught because you have no true identity. And your identity you can't be Hugh Jackman, the Prestige. Like, it doesn't work like that.
So how would playing a 3-4 versus a 4-3 affect Harold Perkins Jr. for LSU, who I still think can be one of the best defensive players in the country?
Yeah, well, it's, again, I don't know if they'd put him down, in off the edge, like they did as much last year and trying to bring him from depth and things like that. When you go to that 3-down front, the true 3-down front, really what you're doing, and there's different movements you can have, you can turn it into a 4-down, is you're putting that nose in a 0. The first question is, do you have a dog at nose that's good enough to be able to get in that 0 and start 2-gapping stuff, who can jack that center up and go make a playoff of it? If we're talking about your struggle.
So he's got both A-gaps.
You can 2-gap it. There's you can divvy it out. You go in either A-gap. Obviously, the Mike has the other one when you're looking at the run game. But the argument is that the interior of the defensive line is the problem. So by going to that 3-down and putting that guy in that 0, you're really not solving the problem. You're actually putting more responsibility. Guys that go 3-down have that dog nose and maybe don't have guys on the outside that are good enough.
So you're giving them more backers.
You're giving them more. You're actually hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You're doubling down on what you're bad at. So I wouldn't recommend that.
All right, let's go to Hold This L. I'll never hold that kid. Said, would LSU fans be okay with a 9-win season?
Does 9-3 get you in the playoff? I think LSU needs to make the standard at LSU is we need to win championships. I'm not saying every year you expect to be perfect, but LSU at this point in Brian Kelly's tenure, they're expecting playoff appearance. That's what they are expecting. And now it's 12 teams? You mean to tell me there's 11 teams out there that should be better than LSU on a consistent basis? And 9-3 may get you in the playoff. If it's the right 9-3, we just got to see the way it works out and who's on the quote-unquote bubble at the end.
Man, and the schedule is favorable. I mean, they open with Southern Cal, but that's at a neutral site. You get to host Ole Miss, who's going to be great this year. You get to host Alabama in Baton Rouge, and you host Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, it's lining up to where LSU, this schedule this year is going to be, I don't say easier, because I don't think there's an easy schedule in the SEC, or really at the high level of college, the highest level of college football. It's that this schedule is going to be a whole hell of a lot lighter than next year's schedule. Now, there's a lot of turnover that we see. Circumstances change. The Ole Miss team next year is going to look a whole hell of a lot different than the Ole Miss team this year when you have to go on the road and play them. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right, let's go to Matty X. He says, if LSU gets ran through like they did last year, this video is going to come back and bite Brian Kelly in the ass.
Well, look, it always does when it goes bad. You can go and grab clips, and I can say on the opposite hand, if LSU does figure it out and it looks good, people can go back and say, not only is Brian Kelly doing good, he's doing good while not overspending.
Yep.
So it just depends on what the conclusion is. What at the end of the year, that's how people are going to view what was said at the beginning of the year.
All right, let's go to CW. What's up, man? He says, who needs to make the playoff more, Ole Miss or LSU?
I think Ole Miss, because this is the year, right?
But do they need to? Do they need to?
I think so. Because again, I think Ole Miss is a place where every 3 to 4 years you can put together that team that can legitimately make a run. And this is that team. with Jackson Dart, with this offensive line, with what you've done in the transfer portal, going out and getting all these defensive players. We talk about Ole Miss and LSU trading places. I mean, Ole Miss's defense led the SEC in turnover margin last year. They returned a lot of guys. They were one of the most disruptive teams in the Southeastern Conference, which means in the country defensively in the backfield. And everybody in Oxford, if you ask them, this is the, I'm the Ole Miss fan that's over in Cairo, Egypt. I pick up there's a tablet under the sand. 2024. This is the prophecy of the Ole Miss Black Bear Rebel Land Sharks making it to the playoff and making a run, maybe actually playing in the SEC championship game. If they don't, with that schedule too, you want to talk about a schedule that's you're able to navigate, you're going to see a lot of pissed off people in Oxford. Not that anything's going to happen to Lane, but you're going to see a lot of not only pissed off, but let down people in Oxford, Mississippi. All right, one more.
All right, let's go to Farmer Jake 19, Sam Jankovic. He says, crazy how team play changes over years, even under the same coaching staff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes that head coaches have to recenter and get back to who they were?
Yeah, well, look, football's cyclical. Nobody's expecting you to be dominant at the same thing, for 150 years. But I do believe, and this goes back to Cohn's point, when he talked about being from Statesboro at Georgia Southern, where the triple option was kind of, the identity. To me, it's not that you have to run the triple option. It's that your identity is a tough identity. It's a hard-nosed identity. It's a physical identity. And LSU defensively, that's who I believe they are. They haven't been that. They've been the opposite of that. So not that you have to sit here and, I got to run a 4 down. I got to run a 3 down. Or, we got to pressure more. That's who we are. That's not what I'm saying. Schematically, it can change. But the identity of who you are doesn't need to change. So yes, call it recentering, call it getting back to who we are, getting back to the basics, whatever. Sometimes you do need a reset. But speaking about resets, there's a couple teams in the playoff right now down 2-0 that need to reset.
Yep, only one game in the NBA yesterday. Knicks 130-121 over the Pacers. They take a 2-game lead. Halliburton did bounce back with 34 points, but it wasn't enough. Jalen Brunson had 29. DiVincenzo had 28.
Yeah.
Knicks on fire.
They are, but if you're a Knicks fan, that win came at a little bit of a cost yesterday. Now, Jalen Brunson being able to come back out of the locker room after I believe it was his foot or his ankle and be able to finish the game and be fine, that's good. But OG Anunoby, that one hurts. That one hurts, and he looked hurt. I mean, Jalen Brunson had to foul a guy to get him out of the game. Now, we'll see, but this is a team that we know Mitchell Robinson has been beat up. Julius Randle is out.
For the
Bogdanovich is out. How many, we can talk about how tough the Knicks are, and they are. We can talk about how, fun of a story it is and what Jalen Brunson's doing and DiVincenzo and all this stuff. But how many injuries can you possibly accumulate and be able to beat the Celtics? Or then get to the finals and beat either probably the Wolves or the Nuggets? Like, how many injuries can you sustain? Jalen Brunson has put this team on his back. But you start losing Anunoby, who's a guy that he's just a creator. Right? Anunoby's not a guy you're going to sit here and put as the main focal point of, hey, we're going to run this play to get him an open shot. What we're going to do is give the ball to OG Anunoby and just let, like Carrie Underwood said, let Jesus take the wheel. Let him go operate. He's a physical guy. He's a rebounder. He's kind of like a bigger Josh Hart, right? A more physically gifted Josh Hart that can, and as a defender, OG's a hell of a defender. So if you're the Knicks, yes, you're up 2-0, right? But how many of these injuries can you sustain? And I'm not even talking about the Pacers, which this series isn't over. You're about to go back to Indiana, and, it's 7 games. Like, you're up 2-0. You won the first one by the hair of your chinny chin chin. How many injuries can you sustain, not only to get past the Pacers, but to get past the Celtics, and then possibly get, beat the T-Wolves or the Nuggets, Timberwolves, or the Nuggets to win the NBA championship?
Well, I think you're the Knicks, and you're a place where no one thought you would be. So I think if it's ever time to lay it all out on the line, now's the time. If you're the Pacers, you lost 2 on the road. All right? It's not a huge deal. It happens. You're coming back home. Halliburton, I knew you wouldn't have 6 points again. He dropped a 30-piece in a loss. But, right now, if you're the Knicks, congratulations to DiVincenzo. 1, you beat racism, and 2, you're dropping 30 points in the league. We're all happy for you and proud of you for that. It's going to be tough. You're running out of bodies. You're running out of bodies to throw people, and it's almost – these next 2 games, you have to make a decision, and at least one of them. I think you might need a sit. You might, if you can sit Brunson a game, I would.
I don't think that's correct. Typically, I'd be like, you're nuts. Why would you do that? You're playing this well. But Jalen Brunson has to max it out every game.
Every game.
Like, he's got to press the pedal down and scream America every single game. And eventually, that's going to catch up to you, especially if the series goes 7, right? 6 or 7. And then you've got another one, the Eastern Conference Finals. And then you got another one where he's got to be able to carry the mail. Because if you watch, like, Jalen Brunson, it's not like he's playing offense. He's not like Luka, where he'll play offense hard and then just take defensive possessions off.
He's a coach's
Jalen
kid.
Brunson, he's a coach's kid. He's fighting through screens, and he's a little guy in the NBA, not in the, he's 6'2". He's, 4 inches taller than the average, 6 inches taller than the average, I think, males, 5'8", 5'8.5". But at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson is not going to take possessions off defensively. So, load management, especially now that OG's out, I mean, every time one of these guys goes down, whether it's a guy in the front court or whether it's a guy in the back court, another brick gets stacked on top of Jalen Brunson. Like, at what point does that weight start to really, 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 really take its toll? We'll see. But DiVincenzo, he's kind of like the Derek White for the Celtics. If he can just keep popping off, that gives you that extra little bit. Because I tell you what, Hartenstein, too, down low, with Mitchell Robinson beat up, he's a guy that can't get in foul trouble now. So there's a lot of different areas where Thibodeau's having to try, and we talk about Blake Baker and LSU's defense trying to find a way to witch his way through games. I mean, Tibbs is having to do the same thing right now.
No doubt. All right, let's go to the ice. Panthers sure bounced back 6-1 over the Bruins at home.
Well, and I want to give Florida credit for this. You went down 1-0 after getting your brains beat in by the Bruins in Game 1. But what does it show you? A team that has made a run to a Stanley Cup, right? Didn't end up winning it, but made a run in the Stanley Cup Finals. They didn't panic, right? Not only do they not panic, they come back and beat the Bruins' brains out. But the best part of this, if you're Boston, is you already did what you needed to do. You split the two on the road. Now you go back home. Excuse me. I'll say what I said yesterday before this game. This series smells like 7 to me. It smells like 7. I think they're going to split when they go back to Boston. It's going to be 2-2. You're going to go Florida win, Boston win, and Boston's going to have to go into Florida, Game 7, go to the Panthers, and win that game, which they can do. We saw it, I believe, go 7 with the Leafs.
Yeah.
As well. So
they had home ice on that one.
I think this one's going to come down in the 7th game. I really do.
Talking about going down in the first period, Canucks went down 2 in the first period, scored 3 in the third. They beat the Oilers 5-4 in the first game of that series.
Yeah, this is going to be a high-scoring series. I took the over yesterday and
Isn't it always high with the Oilers?
That's why I always take the over when I see the Oilers. The Canucks coming off that Preds series, where they were able to find a way because the Preds find a way to blow it.
Too soon.
Sorry, David. It's just, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, and nobody loves Christmas more than me. This series, it's going to be high-flying. I suggest taking the over. I still like the Oilers, right? I think they're going to be able to bounce back in Game 2. But this is fun hockey to watch. And I never thought I would enjoy watching hockey like this. As a kid that grew up in Auburn, Alabama, and Lee County, Alabama, I never thought I'd be like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. There's only an hour and a half till the hockey game comes on. Never thought I would say that ever, but I do, and I enjoy it.
It's fun.
And I do enjoy it.
Great sport.
But what else I enjoy? My animals, my puppies. And with Canine Salute, you can support veterans and dogs. What is Canine Salute? Actually, got some right here. They're dog treats, okay, that are high-quality protein treats with no harmful fillers or ingredients, all sourced right here in the U.S. And what's even better? Each bag of treats has a heartfelt tribute to a canine that was killed in the line of duty. We have Axe right here. He's from Michigan. Is named in memory of Navy SEAL Petty Officer 2nd Class Matthew Axelson, who was killed in Afghanistan on June 28, 2005. Every one you buy, proceeds go to helping these canines out, giving them vests and things like that when they go into dangerous situations. And look, they're going and doing their job, just like the men and women that help serve. They go in and do their job. And we all have animals here. Blaine's going to get one eventually, but I know he loves mine. He considers mine his. And our amazing dogs, they love us every day. They serve our community, so let's love and honor them back. with healthy Canine Salute treats. And right now, you can get 15% off your order at caninesalute.com with promo code BOOSTER. That's BOOSTER. That's caninesalute.com with promo code BOOSTER for 15% off your order. You know, we have a lot of fun with these ad reads. We joke around a lot. You know, the sponsors love it when we do that because we're just, you know, talking like we normally talk. This one hits home about as much as any of them. For me, because again, you know, I'm an animal lover. I think there's a special place in hell for people that treat animals bad, and these animals help protect us. So if you're looking for great dog treats, they're gonna love them. Mine love them. They've got great flavors. You need to, if you got some money to spend and you want to do it on a good cause, caninesalute.com. Use that promo code BOOSTER. It helps out a lot.
I just got the bag for Penny Lane, the bison ones.
The bison ones, our dogs love them. Every time they hear me open the pantry door, whether they're
now
upstairs.
I've created a problem.
Or
Penny Lane's obsessed with these treats now.
And I love me some Penny Lane. That's every time I come over there, it's good to see her. But no, this one's peanut butter flavored right here.
That one's peanut butter?
This one's peanut butter.
BB,
Hell,
baby.
I may eat one at the end of the day. But no, my animals absolutely love them.
Give it a try.
I think my cat's even interested in it, to be honest.
All right, I need your guys' opinion on this because Austin Rivers made some comments this week. He said, I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Now, we talk all the time about how athletic basketball players are.
Yes.
We talk all the time. So is he right in this comment, or is he maybe just a little misguided?
No, I think he's a little misguided. I see what you were trying to do. But I do think the most athletic big people in the world play in the NBA. That I do believe that. But football is not just about athleticism, right? Football is the most physical game, mainstream game that we have. It takes way more than athletic. You can be soft and play in the NBA. I mean, hell, watch the regular season. They had to invent the flop rule because y'all's ass was out here pretending to get hit. There's no flop rule in football. I don't think athletically you could put guys out there. I want to see them go through training camp. I don't think they'd survive it. Not saying that none of them could. I think whenever you put anybody in, you know, generalize everybody in one way, you're wrong in doing that. But there's some highlights of some guys in the NFL that could play in the NBA right now.
We pulled some from T Higgins, actually.
Yeah, we have the T Higgins one. Let's just watch T Higgins here look like the greatest basketball player of all time. Can we pull that clip up? Let's watch T Higgins. All right, wide receiver for the Bengals. That's probably not going to be at the Bengals for much longer. Let's watch it. Just watch this. Play it.
Foul situation. They have
Austin Rivers. Yeah, let me tell you a story about the time you were wrong, buddy. You couldn't make it through 3 days of training camp. Give me that.
Yeah, your dad can't come save you on that one.
Yeah, Doc ain't gonna save you on this one, buddy.
It's literally the complete and total opposite of what Austin Rivers is. Complete and total opposite. And this is just T Higgins.
Wait, yeah.
Like, this is just some random...
Wait, so you think it's the exact opposite? You think 30 football players could go play in the NBA, but not the other way around?
Yes.
I think
I do. One, from a body type perspective, a lot of NBA guys can't translate to the NFL. I think a lot of NFL guys could translate to the NBA.
Yeah.
And from a coaching and playing standpoint, the amount of football players that I've seen walk into a gym on a Saturday or a Sunday and absolutely run the basketball players. The last JUCO I coached, there was 2 guys who were twins that could play in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
You will rarely be able to walk into a basketball gym and point at a guy on a basketball team and say, hey, go start in football. It's the complete and polar opposite.
And to be honest with you, even watching basketball games, like the guys you think are tough, I don't know. Like Anthony Edwards talking trash to Kevin Durant or crossing somebody and pointing at them, and that still doesn't tell me if you can play football.
What would he play?
Safety. Safety or receiver.
And that's another thing, too, is like the positions are a little bit more limited, right?
They are more
wide
limited.
Receiver, safety, maybe corner. Maybe you could put one of these guys at corner and have great hits.
I'm sure, again.
But even running back, like the body type is completely different.
Yeah, and I'm sure, again, there's guys that can do both. Guys that can
tight
end
end
in the NBA. Tight
end would probably be
Antonio
the most
Gates.
Yeah.
Like what is a great example. Like it's at the end of the day, it's not totally one side and then there's nobody on the other side. But if I had to, gun to my head, say, do I think there's more NFL players that can play in the NBA or more NBA players that can play in the NFL? Buddy, I'm saying there's more NFL players that can play in the NBA. I can
30?
Because at
30
the end of the
NBA
day,
players?
well, if you would have said 3 to 5, okay.
Anything under 10, I think is okay.
Okay, I can ride with that.
30?
But 30?
Bring up J.J. Watt's tweet. Do we have that? J.J. Watt, I think, won the day on here. He said, you don't got a job in either sport, so go ahead and try it.
Look, I love it. I love it. Now, I hate what J.J. Watt did with his hair right there. It looks like Lance Bass. But, no, and look, Austin Rivers, I don't think he was trying to be disrespectful. I just think he's wrong.
He just did it.
I just think he's wrong. Like, that's.
This is a great segue while we're on this topic to KO Spikes, what he said about Brian Dawkins.
Yes.
Right?
Do
we have this clip?
Yeah, but before we bring Moscona on here, you want to talk about why I love the game of football. You talk about what we were talking about with LSU and why they call Brian Dawkins Weapon X. The mental gymnastics that you have to do to be able to prepare yourself to play an NFL football game or a college football game or a football game in general. This is Takeo Spikes talking about Brian Dawkins. And this is, you know how big and strong Takeo Spikes is? I just want you guys to listen to this. If you're on audio, you don't even have to watch it. But if you're watching it, it's fun for your eyes to look at as well. Let's play this before we bring Matt on.
He was like, Spikes, I'm going to take his soul.
Oh.
And I was like, what? I'm going to take his soul. I want to see how bad he wants to play. Next play, they run the crowd behind me. Brian Dawkins, boom, I said, oh my goodness. He gets up over him and just say, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. I don't know what he's on, but
that's the scariest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I like B. Dawkins.
Like, people don't like, Brian Dawkins speaks tongues to the football.
He's speaking in tongues. There's one time he's walking through the tunnel, that clip keeps going, and the camera's falling. All he's saying is, my time is coming. My time is coming.
Ugh.
Like,
he's speaking
tongues
listen,
to
a football.
So whatever NBA players want to go out there and deal with that, have at it.
Yeah.
This ain't a calf strain.
There ain't no flop rule out there. There is no feeling. And y'all out there that have been involved in it, y'all know exactly what I'm saying. We got a big football audience. There is no feeling like that feeling when you're in that tunnel or you're in that locker room or you're that coach giving that pregame speech. People hear Kirby Smart, they're like, I can't believe he's talking like that. I can't believe he's talking like that and saying that. But if you're in that room, that vibe, it's primal, man. You can understand how people used to do the things that they used to do when you have that type of energy. You want to call it toxic masculinity? Call it toxic masculinity.
Need it.
Because we will beat your ass, buddy. There is no feeling like that.
There's nothing scarier than someone who is huge, fast, pissed, and playing for the Lord.
And talking in tongues.
God! Help me, please.
But speaking of huge, fast, and pissed, and I mean huge in a good way, all right, our buddy, AFR, after further review, catch him on ESPN 104.5, and you can catch him on feetpicsonly.com. I'm just kidding. Our buddy, Matt Muscona.
There he is.
Oh,
hey, the Astros suck.
There is, I can't believe you went there already. Okay.
Matt, thank you.
I was ready. There's nothing fast about me whatsoever. So
fast thinker.
I'm sure those guys who got hit by him didn't call him slow.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't even know that I would go fast thinker.
I think you're a fast thinker.
I'm more of like a traditional chess, not a speed chess guy.
There you go.
You're not just hitting that little clock. Man, I wonder what I'm hella good at checkers, but chess, I don't know.
Forget that little clock, man. Let's sit down. Let's have a gentleman's game, right, Matt?
Yeah, Mike can't read.
Yeah,
it's
by
crazy.
the way, guys, that was just an analogy. I really can't play chess. It just if I would be better at
I can't either.
Speed.
Yeah, me and you would just stare at the board. I'm like inverse Bobby Fischer. But Matt, I want to start. You know, we opened the show, and I want to get your thoughts. And I heard what you said about Brian Kelly. I want our audience. I want you to explain it to them too. But I think there's an overarching thing here. This is what I talked about at the beginning. I don't recognize LSU anymore. I don't. They've been that bad defensively. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. When when I was growing up, and really until recently, I still think, I still think of LSU as an unbelievably physical defensive team that just happens to be pretty damn good on offense too. But they have literally turned in to what Ole Miss used to be, to what USC has been, what Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, and now what he is at USC. They've basically become a Pac-12 team of old in the SEC today. Not saying you can't course correct, but the fact that guys aren't lining up to go play defensive line, I don't care if it's rushing the passer or the 3-tech or the shade at LSU, how do you get that mindset and that identity back? Because I think the people of Louisiana, they identify with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's how LSU built its rosters for a lot of years, was around defense. Look, some of that was just the way that Les Miles wanted to build his teams. He was going to play line of scrimmage football. He wanted to keep it low scoring. He didn't want wide open spread offenses. I mean, the funny part about it is, LSU's quarterbacks were a punchline for more than a decade. And now you've got 2 Heisman winners, and Garrett Nuss. It's not wild to think Garrett Nussmeier could win it this year.
Matt, Les had the quarterbacks blocking on the G-toss.
That's true. that is true.
Lead blocking.
Yes, blocking the backside defensive end. That's fundamentally absurd, but it's what they did. It's just how they played. I think if you sort of trace what's happened there with LSU's defense, several of its bad hires, right? I mean, whenever Dave Aranda left for Baylor, the Bo Pelini year experiment was a disaster. Durante Jones was here for a year, and then obviously Brian Kelly comes in and brings in Matt House, and we thought that would right the ship. It didn't. And I think also, guys, maybe the biggest thing is what Brian Kelly had to learn in his first 2 years in Baton Rouge is to value the dirt, to value the soil of Louisiana. Mm-hmm. I give this example, and I don't mean for this to be critical of one individual, but, or I'll give you 2 examples. When Brian Polian was the recruiting coordinator, they flew to Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star cornerback. Brother, I could throw a rock from my front window and hit 5 3-star cornerbacks in the state. Yeah. They flew to Minnesota to recruit Jackson Howard, a defensive end, who's now in the transfer portal after 1 year. He's a 3-star defensive, or maybe a low 4-star defensive end. There's just no reason to do that when you can value the talent in this state. And I think that's what's taken a couple of years for Brian Kelly to get. And guys, if you look at the 2025 recruiting class LSU has committed, and the players just within a 50-mile radius, I mean, there's 3 top 10 players in the country for 2026 within a 50, all defensive, within a 50-mile radius of LSU's campus. They're going to get it right. I think that was the transitional period that Brian Kelly needed to understand what type of talent pool exists in this state.
Yeah. And then you look at again, I think about all the homegrown talent that you just brought up. Not only are they really athletic and just good football players, but LSU, those kids go to LSU. There is no Alabama to the Auburn. There is no Mississippi State to the Ole Miss. LSU isn't losing kids to Tulane and La Tech and Southeast Louisiana. So they grow up LSU fans. They grow up willing to do whatever they have to do, put their bodies on the line, and it does just mean more. And if I think you're exactly right, you can recruit nationally. That's great. You can go out and get you, if there's a wide receiver in California that's the next Julio Jones, you can go get him. But that team needs to be made up of Southern kids and kids from the boot. That's what it needs to, because I do think there is an even bigger return on that investment. But when you look at the team this year, do you think we are going to see, because Blake Baker, I think, Matt, is a hell of a coach. I think he is going to be that coordinator that ends up being the guy that people think they are. When you look at the way this roster is, with that interior defensive line, how good can this defense be? Because I think Garrett and the offense will be good, but how balanced or more balanced will LSU be this year?
Well, I think the expectation matters, right? Keep in mind, LSU, by the way, next time I'm here, I'm definitely getting a ring light. I didn't realize how dark my face was back there. I just looked like eyes and a beard on your back screen.
You look great, Matt.
I think you look great.
Matt, you're a Yankees fan. You look great. All right.
Thank you. I think, look, LSU defensively last year was 108th. Like, let that marinate for a second.
That's unacceptable.
and 8th in the country in total. It's completely unacceptable. I don't think there's enough talent there for this to be a top 20 defense, because I don't think they need to be.
I agree.
If you're going to score 38, 40 a game, which I think this offense is going to be capable of doing again, can you just not be the worst in program history?
Top 50. Just be top 50 and be good on third down.
For perspective, the 2019 LSU team that won the national championship, that defense finished 59th in the country in total defense. And they were pretty awesome. Like, just don't be the worst ever. Don't go score 48 at Ole Miss and lose like you did last year because you gave up 55. I mean, flip that game. How dramatically different is your season?
Yeah.
You know, same thing with the Florida State game to open the season. I mean, that was a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter, but they just couldn't tackle Keon Coleman. So, I mean, guys, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that Blake Baker is going to be some magic unlock and all of a sudden LSU is going to return to the defenses of old. But can they be better than last year? Yeah, because it would be hard to be worse.
Very true. Very true.
Hey, Matt, prior to the legalization of NIL, one excuse or line of reasoning, at least from certain fan bases about their rival was, well, those guys are just paying players. Of course, Nick Saban's good. He's just paying players. I heard it from Michigan fans for years. The Buckeyes are just paying players. And maybe they were right. Maybe they were wrong.
They were right.
But, now that you can legally pay guys to come and play for your school via these collectives or name, image, and likeness, everyone has to operate by market principles, supply and demand. So Brian Kelly saying, hey, I don't want to pay a guy $1 million and make him one of the highest paid people at LSU when he had 3 sacks a season ago is not crazy to me. At the same time, you can't go out and be 108th on defense like we're talking about. So what does the future of LSU football look like in terms of that split between recruiting guys, developing guys, but then also using the transfer portal to supplement?
Yeah, no, Cone, it's the right question. It's the thing Brian Kelly has said repeatedly. Like, they're not just going to buy a roster. And listen, let me give an example of a team that tried to do that and it failed miserably. Look at that Texas A&M recruiting class 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it crippled that program. Can we all agree to that?
Oh, 100%.
Like that recruiting class, which everyone was so pumped for, they cannonballed into the deep end of NIL, bought that amazing recruiting class, and everybody left, and it collapsed, and Jimbo got fired, and they had to pay him $75 million to go away.
Yeah.
To dovetail the conversation where we started, guys, Brian Kelly is saying, I'm going to recruit and develop at the high school level, and because you can recruit the state of Louisiana, you're going to recruit guys, like Jake said, who would give an arm to run through the tunnel at that stadium. Like, every school has those guys. Louisiana has plenty of them. And then you supplement through the portal. Guys, listen, to be very clear, and I know so many people focused on just 3 seconds of that Brian Kelly soundbite where he said, we're not in the business of buying players.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a 3.5-minute answer in that conversation, which was very thoughtful and oozing context. And most people just ignored it and latched on to 3 seconds. What he said is right. It's how they should go about it. But I'll give you more context, guys. And I've said this on my show. I've said it publicly, so I'll tell you as well. There was a time where LSU's collective was not organized and they were not well funded. There was a time a few years ago where LSU had more NIL commitments than they had money in the bank, meaning they had committed more NIL money to players than they actually could fund.
In the red.
Wow.
They are in a much healthier spot now. The roster a year ago, they spent roughly $4 million on the entire roster. Now, for context, that Texas roster that was in the college football playoff, they spent about $8 or $9 million on that roster.
Yeah, look at Ohio State. Yeah,
look at Ohio State. This year, LSU their goal is pushed north of 6. They actually got closer to 7. The problem they've had is they've got money in the bank. They've just had some NIL offers turned down, like we talked about. And specifically with Dominic Williams. Listen, Dominic Williams came in from Oklahoma and he wanted $1.2 million. That's the player Brian Kelly was talking about. Mm-hmm. And how do you justify that when you got a guy, and this is something else Brian Kelly said in that answer when he said, I'm responsible to everybody in the room, meaning the entire team. How do I look at my offensive linemen? Well, he's talking about Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Guys, if you look at any way too early 2025 mock draft, Will Campbell is a consensus top 5 pick. Like, he's this year's Joe Alt. He's going to be the best offensive tackle in the draft.
Yeah.
How do you justify paying Dominic Williams 2-3 times what you're paying the guy that's been your bookend left tackle since the day he stepped on campus?
Mm-hmm.
What does that do to your locker room? there's not a single starting defensive lineman currently on LSU's team that has an NIL deal over 6 figures. You're going to pay Dominic Williams 15, 20 times their number for 4 months. Like, if that's Caleb Williams, okay, because that guy can help me get to a championship immediately, right? You're talking about a transcendent quarterback. That much money for a defensive lineman? Like, what are we talking about? How we set a market? I mean, I'm as gung-ho NIL transfer portal as anyone in the world. Like, seriously, if someone's going to pay that kid 1.2, go get it, Hoss. I wish you the best. But I can also respect how Brian Kelly's looking at it going, why would I do that? And what are the ripple effects to my entire roster if I did that? But this misconception that LSU's broke and has no money is factually inaccurate. I mean, I'll tell you flatly, they've got about $2 million in basically unused powder that they had allocated for players, either players returning or players coming in via the portal that's currently unclaimed. So it's like they could have paid.
I got a year of eligibility.
Right?
I got a year.
Right? They could have paid Dominic Williams 1.2, but what precedent are you setting if you do?
Well, also, and we don't know, hey, you're sitting there looking at the coffers and you're like, all right, we got $2 million of unused powder right now. Well, there's a 5-star defensive tackle that's coming out of the state of Texas that we could offer some pretty decent NIL money coming out of high school. Maybe go get 2 of them. Maybe I can go get the 5-star and a 4-star defensive lineman that'll be here for 3 years that we can pay NIL and will end up helping us in the long run. I get that. That's why I'm so for an incentivized structure too, to where if it's like, hey, Dominic Williams, here's what we'll do. We'll guarantee you $500,000, but we will put incentives that if you get this amount of tackles for a loss and you get this amount of sacks, we can elevate that and you will be worth that amount of money. But we're far away from that. I know there's some coaches that want it, some that are a little bit nervous about it. But I agree with you. I mean, anybody that thinks that LSU doesn't have money, or anybody that thinks that Auburn doesn't have money, or Bama doesn't have money, or these teams don't have money, but what cost A&M was they sacrificed their culture to buy talent. And when you do that in the game of football, where it is the ultimate team sport, you will not win. It just does not work like that. You can't put a house if you don't have a foundation, and that's what cost A&M, in my opinion, Blaine.
I love it. What's up, Matty? Good to see you here, buddy. Go Yankees. As always, you put that hat on. You're damn right. God.
How about 5 in a row, Blaine?
I know.
How about Judge, Soto, and Stanton all homering in the same game for the first time? Take that, Astros.
Hey, how about Stanton hitting 118 miles per hour off the bat? That's basically our government's going to stop funding weapons to somebody if he does it again.
God, there's nothing like watching the Astros lose. It's just
they're just. I mean, this is speaking of weird. Like, speaking of weird.
All right, Matt, we're going to get to the chat here. We got some questions for you. We're going to start with the HBH, hashtag Ask Matt. And he says, what are your expectations for Harold Perkins this season?
It's one of the most complex players in college football. I heard someone describe him this week. It was Chris Trapasso at CBS Sports as ubiquitous. And I think that's perfect because he's almost like a positionless player. He's almost like LeBron, in the sense that you could line him up anywhere and he could be effective, but finding the most effective way to use him is the challenge. LSU's going to try him at off-ball linebacker again. They did that for one game last year against Florida State. It didn't work, and they moved him back into that nickel dime role. He's fascinating. If you could find a way to make him an actual run-defending linebacker who can rush the passer and turn and run, you have maybe the best defensive player in college football. If he gets lost in the wash again, I think you're wasting an elite talent on the edge. Yeah.
Well, I want to make this point about Harold. He, to me, is like that basketball player that can't do anything else but drive. Like, he can drive incredibly. He's like a slasher. But you don't want him shooting 10 threes a game, right? Defensively, he's really good in man. Anything outside of that, because Harold Perkins struggled to see it last year because there's so much going on in front of you as an off-the-ball linebacker. Yep. At nickel, you're kind of expanded out. You limit, the space that you operate. But if I'm at Mike or Will and I'm in that box and I'm having to read pullers and I'm having to do things with the eye discipline it takes and just seeing it slow down, I agree, man. It's tough.
All right, let's go to Tom H. He says, I love when these two collab, Tom. I do too. He says, Matt, do you think LSU's roster is good enough to make the playoffs this year?
I do. I think the schedule works in their favor a bit as well. They get Bama and Ole Miss at home.
Yep.
Oklahoma will be at home this year as well. So I think the schedule works in their favor. And because it's an expanded playoff, can we all agree, guys? Like, I think if LSU or any SEC team is 10-2, you're going to be in a
You're
12
in. You're in. You're in.
We agree? Okay.
We're talking about 9-3 possibly.
Yeah, we were talking about 9-3 earlier. Like, if it's the right 9-3 and you play hot at the end.
Yeah, maybe so. But 10-2 feels like if you're 10-2, you're going to be in.
Yeah.
And I mean, Vegas has LSU pegged over under 9.5. And I just mentioned, I think their 3 toughest games are all at home. So they do have to go to A&M. That'll be interesting to see what they are. But I think 10-2 for this team and, and a back end of the playoff is plausible for this team. Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, one more.
Let's go to Landon Baroni. Landon, I totally messed up your last name, but we're not going to talk about that. Hashtag Ask Matt. Is it more likely that LSU has a top 3 rushing attack in the SEC or a top 3 passing game?
Oh, passing. I'd be surprised if they weren't top 3. And it's so odd, guys. Like, just think about this weird paradigm shift with LSU. We just talked about was a quarterback graveyard. LSU lost its offensive coordinator, who's a Broyles finalist, its Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, 2 first-round picks at receiver, and we're all like, yeah, they're going to be awesome on offense again.
Yeah,
like, not going to miss a beat.
Yeah.
But it's kind of plausible, man. I mean, Nussmeier's a 4th-year player who looks awesome. Kyron Lacey looks like he's ready to be the next great receiver. They are dripping talent at receiver. It's actually unfair. And you got 4 of your 5 starters on the offensive line back, 2 of whom are on everybody's way too early, mock draft as first-round picks next year. So that offense should be awesome. The one question is your running back depth. But man, I don't expect the passing game to drop off much, if at all. I think they'll easily be at or near the top of the SEC in passing offense again. The real question for this team is going to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Without a doubt, man. Well, there's no question when you come on, Matt, whether it's going to be good stuff or not. Tell everybody where they can find your work. Thanks for getting up with us this morning. But you're a father, so you're already up.
I've been up since before the sun. Yeah, man, if you could spell my name, you could find me online, Moscona, Afternoon Drive all over Louisiana, YouTube, everywhere as well. And before I go, I would like to say, Cone, I absolutely loathe country music. Makes my skin crawl. But your single, that's a catchy hook, bro.
It's a catchy too.
Man.
That's all I need to hear. Thank you.
I don't love the song because I don't love country.
I'm going to go home now. Thank you.
But but I'm telling you, really good job. That is a catchy hook. Like, Gene, free bird on the radio.
Yeah. Hey, Matt,
really good hook.
I went on a radio show the other day, and they brought me in to Cone's song. That was the song that brought me in.
It's a movement, Matt. There's 5 more songs coming out. Now I'll compliment you and your bourbon set.
Yeah, one of them's called
your bourbon selection.
Moscona. Don't leave me
He holds up his coffee.
He held up his coffee.
I love your bourbon.
Yeah,
He holds up his coffee.
You want to go back to the shelf?
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, Matt. Thanks, buddy.
That's funny.
All right, guys.
All right, Matt Muscona, one of the best in the business. And you saw that just smooth. My man goes hairless up top, party on the beard. But if you want skin as smooth, all right, and as silky as that, you need a good skincare product. And if you're looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift that'll make the women in your life feel pampered and appreciated, well, our friends at GenuCell, woo, they have you covered like the LSU secondary wish they had you covered. And they're offering right now a extra 25% off in honor of their 25th anniversary. This makes an already awesome Mother's Day sale their biggest sale ever. But the best part is it's for men and women. We know we have Father's Day. We know we have Mother's Day. Hopefully it stays that way. But with GenuCell, you're winning either way. Yes. All right, this package features the Gen 90 serum, which instantly results in visibly erasing those wrinkles around your eyes, forehead, those crow's feet take off and fly away, and those laugh lines, they just turn into a smile that everybody can smile about. So visit GenuCell.com/booster for an additional 25% off GenuCell's already amazing Mother's Day sale. And right now in your order, you want me to give him something else, Blaine?
Give him something, son.
Something else.
You want me to give him something else? You want me to do it?
Come on.
All right.
Tell him.
Right now, unless you're driving,
GenuCell
will include a free spa box with 2 bonus gifts and free shipping.
Spa box?
A spa box.
Free?
It's a spa box.
Free?
But don't wait. This sale won't last long, and they have limited inventory available. That's GenuCell.com/booster. GenuCell.com/booster. GenuCell, you got skin in the game.
How you going to beat that?
That's an ad.
Free spa box?
Right there. Free spa box. You know what you do? You hop to Hava.
What's in the box?
Do it, Blaine.
It's like, what's her name from Sex in the City? Miranda.
I'm Samantha right now.
It puts the GenuCell on the skin.
I'm so
I ain't neither one of them. I'm Donnie.
Yeah.
Remember seeing Bruno? That's
All right. Let's get to the phone line.
All right, let's get to the phone lines. We got a couple Michaels on the line. Let's start with Michael in Texas. Talk to us, man.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing?
What's up,
Fantastic.
Hey, Michael.
Before I get to what I want to talk about, David, I added your song to my road trip playlist pretty quickly after I heard it the first couple of times.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you,
song, brother. Great
Hey,
song.
share it with the whole state of Texas. That's your job.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to hold you accountable.
I'll blast it with the windows down when I'm driving to work.
I love it.
Up and
I
down.
love the broness
how
that's
I-
going on in here. I know.
It is
It's a high bro level right now. The bro
There's a lot of
capacity is high.
brotivities going on.
Brotivities.
I love it.
Yes, sir. So yesterday, I was listening to the episode yesterday, and one of the callers, he was trying to figure out which team to root for. I think, excuse me, Blaine, I think you said that it's a sin to root for two teams in the same sport. So I have is there any exception to that rule?
There is.
Yes.
There is.
Travis Kelce's parents.
Okay.
You can marry into it. You can marry into another team.
Yeah.
There's certain availabilities that you have, but it's limited. It's extremely limited.
See, let me. I'm going to push back on that for a second.
Okay, just know you're married to an Alabama fan.
No, I understand that. I'm not an Alabama fan. So there's a difference to me.
There's an elephant on y'all's front porch.
Let me get into the nuances. This is important. There's a difference in Cone played at Michigan, right? Marries an Alabama fan. Me from Auburn, married an Alabama fan. I don't have to root for them actively. I just can't hate on them regularly in front of her. And deep down, I can feel how I want to. I don't need to sit there and be like, go, Bama, go. Go, Bama, go. No, I don't have to become an Alabama fan. But what I can't do is do what I did when I wasn't married to her and in front of her just prey on their downfall. Now, to me, the exception is if, again, the Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce's parents.
That's a good one.
The person that wears half the jersey because one of their brothers plays for this team, one of their brothers plays for that team, and they play. That, if it's family, what does Vin Diesel say? This isn't friendship, it's family, whatever we quote all the time. That's totally different. And yes, because you have more invested. But I can't sit here and be like, well, I'm a Chargers. I root for the Chargers and the New York Giants exactly the same. That's what I think Blaine was saying. I don't think you can do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I'm asking on my behalf because I've mentioned that I root for the Maple Leafs in hockey, but I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, so I root for the Sabres too. So, and I know some people will say, well, you may be a bandwagon fan,
but not evenly, right? You like one more than the other, right?
So, I'd say they're on equal footing because.
See, I don't know how that.
I just don't understand.
Why? Let me quickly explain. The reason why is because Buffalo is because I'm from there, so I root for my hometown teams. But I lived near Toronto for about 6 years when I was growing up, and one of my favorite players played on the Maple Leafs, and blue's my favorite color. So I was like, I like these guys, so that's why I started rooting for them. Now, I figure out, okay, they play in the same division. Well, how? So it's weird. I'm a weird sports fan in that regard, but usually if I root for a team, it's not because I jump on the bandwagon. It's just because I feel like I have a good reason for it.
Okay. Well,
the ultimate question in this scenario is always going to be if those two teams play each other, who do you pull for? Because you have to pull for one of them. And the answer to that question, that's your favorite team.
So usually it would be the Sabres then.
Well, there you go.
Sabres.
That's
Mike,
the
you can't be both.
team.
Mike, you can't be both.
Yeah.
Although you seem like he's got a good reason, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
But
you can't be bi in this situation.
But Michael, and I think part of this was brought up too because of my affiliation with the Rangers last year. Look, for the Braves, for me, the affiliation and the love runs too deep. For me,
Braves play the Rangers.
Unless they
you're a
directly
Braves
disrespect me.
fan.
I'm a Braves fan. But I wanted to applaud the Rangers for not having any pride nights at their ballpark. And you know what that did for me last year? That gave me another vested interest in a team, in a different league, in a different division who I could pull for. Now, I'm no longer indifferent when the Rangers and the Astros play. I'm pulling for the Rangers. Last year, when they made the World Series and the Braves aren't playing, I had a team to pull for. So as long as you have that sort of second-tier team.
There's a difference between liking a team and rooting for it.
But I agree with that. I agree with that. And also, before you go, Michael, we don't believe that you can love two teams in the same sport the same. But I think you can hate two teams the same. I think on the inverse coin, like you can hate, if you can hate one team as much as the other team. You can hate 6 different teams if you want the sport. So that's kind of the inverse of the coin. But that's a good conversation.
Let me respond real quick before I go to your point about how you and David married Alabama fans, or maybe for you, Jake. I feel like you could hate Alabama openly because your wife grew up in the same rivalry as you did, and she would completely understand.
She gets it. But I'm still, due to self-preservation, I'm not walking in the house every morning like, Nick Saban's gone, you guys are dead. No, like
internalizes that.
Yeah, I say that to myself every morning when I get up, and then I kiss her goodbye.
Hey, it took a lot of confidence for you to call in.
Yeah.
And
It did. Michael, it's a good call. We
that.
made
a lot of
progress
respect.
Because you know what? There's a lot of booster clubbers listening. They have your same situation.
Yeah.
They're listening right now, and they're thinking, man, I'm glad Michael called.
Let's get a couple plus cred points to Michael.
Yeah, we got you, buddy.
All right, let's stay on the Michael convention is apparently going on right now.
It actually is.
But this one's in Alabama.
It's in San Antonio right now.
Oh, is it? Well, that's
A
why
lot
he
of them
was
are
in
staying at the
Texas.
Riverwalk. People are freaking out.
Okay, well, Michael in Alabama, are you at the convention or what's going on?
No, I'm not at the convention. War Eagle, Jake.
Hey, what's up, Michael? How's it going, buddy?
Going good. Hey, David, are you a Red Wings fan?
Me? No? Should I be?
I'm just asking. I didn't know.
Hey, I'm on board with the Predators now, man. I live in Nashville. It's my home
hometown
state.
team now.
Maybe we'll make it out of the first
Good
round
deal,
one
good
day.
deal.
I don't know.
Love Subway.
Good deal. Hey, Jake.
Yeah, buddy.
I think Benoit Sellers can save Shane Beamer's career. This has got to look out for Shane Beamer. Otherwise, he's out.
Save his career?
No, Michael, we talked about it yesterday. Here's what it's going to come down to. South Carolina was so bad up front, really on both sides of the ball last year. If they just give Lenoris a chance, and I think some people, there's a common misconception that when I say give you a chance, that just means pass protection. David, you know this better than anybody. What's a quarterback's best friend outside of pass pro? It's a run game.
Yeah.
Being able to run the ball. Because, again, that slows down the pass rush, all right? That messes with the eyes of the secondary, especially the safeties when you're sitting there gashing them. And obviously the play action that helps you out down the field. But if we're talking about potential and we're talking about talent and ability and moxie, I think Lenoris has a chance to be one of the best. I think he has a chance to be the golden one, right? The boy who lived, right? The goggled wonder.
Asim Gagalib.
Yeah, Asim Gagalib.
Yeah, exactly.
I like what you did there. But, Michael, I agree with you, man.
We'll see, Michael.
Yes, sir.
We'll
Hey,
see, brother.
You too.
Who should I go with, the Predators or the Stars? What's the better playoff team?
The Stars.
Well, the Stars are still in it.
I would
though.
say.
Still in it.
I was like, the Preds blew it, and then the Stars.
If you're hoping for
3-0.
this year.
I would say right now I'd root for the Stars, and then I would start rooting for the Preds next year.
Boom.
That's what I would do. Mike.
There
I
it
think
is.
you need to start rooting for the
All right.
Flyers. That's
No,
what
I don't.
No,
Don't root
forget
for
the Flyers, Michael. Don't
All right,
listen
don't
to
root for
him.
the
We're
Flyers.
on the come up, Mike.
But thank you for calling in,
Thanks,
man.
Michael.
Really appreciate it, Mike.
Appreciate you.
Hey, War Eagle, Jake.
All right, War Eagle, buddy.
All right, let's go to Thomas in Louisiana. Thomas, are you an LSU fan?
I sure am, man. I graduated from LSU.
Talk to us.
Okay, here we
Talk
go.
to us.
Graduated mud throwing.
That's right, man. Bobby Boucher.
Yeah.
Mud dog.
Packed and fuel.
That's right. Hey, guys, I just kind of want to elaborate on the whole Brian Kelly situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's been 10 years since LSU has had a multi-year defensive line coach.
You talking about consecutive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I'm
10
sure you guys
years?
know his name. Coach O, baby.
Yeah.
You wanted to kill Jake.
Yeah. So my point is, right, whenever BK is selling these recruits on, hey, even if we're not paying you the most, we're still at least kind of competitive.
Yeah.
But if you look at what we're still producing here, you know, kind of like what Matt just commented, the 108th defense last year, right? The worst in LSU history. Haven't had a consistent defensive line coach in 10 years. Now we have Bo Davis, who's one of the best,
For sure.
you know, if not the best defensive line coach in the country. And if you look at the only defensive players that were drafted last year, or in the past draft, all three were defensive tackles. Mason Smith, right?
Mhm.
Two of the three were transfers. So Jordan Jefferson, I believe he was from West Virginia, and Mekhi Wingo from Missouri,
Yeah.
right? So two of the three were transfers. So I'm just kind of wondering, right, how much are these transfer guys just solely looking at the dollar amount, you know, on the table then and there versus, you know, this is your future, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
I mean, Thomas, you know how it is. Regardless of what line of work you're in, money's going to talk, right? Money's going to talk the loudest. Now, there's some guys, and I think these are the smartest guys that look down the road and say, I'm going to make a whole hell of a lot. And there's some guys like Dylan Gabriel's probably going to make more money in college than he'll ever make in the NFL, if we're going to be honest.
Right.
But there's some guys, and this is talking about the type players that LSU typically recruits up front, they're going to make a lot more money in the NFL than they're going to make in college. So this goes back to where I started the show. The persona of LSU being a place that pumps defensive linemen into the first round, which we had seen for years and years and years and years growing up. To me, I think guys would be willing to maybe take a little bit less on the front end to go play at a place like LSU, right? For now a guy like Bo Davis, and then get that big check on the back end. But trying to explain that to an 18-year-old who, let's be honest, most of these guys come from socioeconomic backgrounds that are not wealthy, right? And trying to say, listen, you need to take $200,000 less. $200,000, which is a ton of money to anybody, should be to anybody, but especially to somebody that hasn't had it. I can see why that would cause a problem, right? Even guys that are 19 or 20 years old that are in college at LSU and somebody's offering them $350,000 more than what they're getting paid. It's hard for me to sit here and be like, you're an idiot for doing this.
And they're watching the head coach who just left Notre Dame to go to LSU because of the monetary value.
It's a real life problem, man. It's like a real life problem.
And it's worrisome too because, like, if y'all going to be bad up front on the D-line, which is crazy to me, it's almost crazier that y'all were bad in the secondary.
But I mean,
if you think of LSU, LSU's what?
But those go hand in hand.
It's DBU.
Yeah, those go hand in hand, though. I don't care if you've got Deion Sanders, Ed Reed, and the best DBs out in the world. If you give a quarterback at this level and these wide receivers, and you know the 6 seconds, you're not. Somebody's going to be open
for sure.
Like somebody's going to be
bad.
Open.
It's been bad.
Like the tackling. The tackling has been
the last real one. Who came out of the secondary at LSU's got to be Stingley Jr., right, for the Texans?
Yeah, and he was.
I mean, other than that, I'm used to Jamal Adams, Claiborne,
Honey
Badger,
yeah,
all Pat Pete, all these big names, and now it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, but you guys know who the DB coach was back then, right? Corey Raymond.
Yeah.
Corey Raymond was let go whenever BK first came in. Guess who's back now? Corey Raymond.
It's amazing how it's
might look a little different this year.
Yeah, it's like a circle. It never ends.
It is.
All right, appreciate it, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas. All right, let's go to Ben in Missouri. Ben, talk to us.
What's up, guys? How you doing on this Thursday?
What's up, Ben? Let's get excited.
I'm excited because I think this was last week, but I got some hype from, I think it was Austin. I can't remember where he was from, but he was hyping up Jay from my alma mater there, Northwest.
Yeah.
Missouri State.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the factory, man.
Dude, believe me, I know. Dave Tollefson's one of my best friends, man. He's an alum.
That's right. But I was going to call really about Missouri. So, of course, you know, both my parents graduated from Mizzou, so I'm invested in that football there. But what I was going to ask about was Luther. You were talking to the coach yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you think that he has a legitimate shot at Heisman? I know it's a quarterback award now, basically, but if he really goes off, do you think that he would have a shot? And then how high would he get drafted?
I think there's a possibility he could be the number 1 wide receiver off the board this year. Here's the problem. If we're talking about Luther Burden winning a Heisman, he's going to have to do a ton in the return game, right? Because if he goes off from a yards receiving standpoint, I think there's a better chance Brady Cook wins the Heisman, to be honest with you, the quarterback at Missouri.
See, I don't think he has to do anything. Devontae Smith didn't do anything return game. He won it in 2020.
Yeah, and he kind of benefited from, Mac Jones not being a proven name the season before, basically coming after Tua. But I'm just looking, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the biggest name, based off what his father did too, the biggest name at wide receiver who also lived up to that, and he didn't win it. And he got out, Malik Neighbors had 1,600 yards receiving last year. Outstatted, I guess. I don't know about the touchdowns, but out-yardaged last year by Malik Neighbors at least, and he didn't win it either.
Yeah, and I agree with you. A lot of it has to do with Jay Daniels. You're not being...
Well, what's the difference now in the Heisman and the Davey O'Brien Award?
There's always been similarities, but yeah, we just got to give it to the best player, man. It has to be to the best player, regardless of position.
What about branding? Branding may come into it too, because if with Marvin Harrison Jr., that's Ohio State, and Mizzou is not like blue blood status. They're not on the same branding level. I'm not saying that should be a factor, but we've talked numerous times about how even if we don't want it to be, it may be a factor when it comes.
Yeah. No, I think it's multifactorial, to be honest.
True, I agree with that. But I think if you're good enough, they'll give it to you. I don't care what school you're at.
Just got to be great.
Yeah.
Got to be great.
True. The one last thing is you guys were talking about fandom, and I think that conversation is very interesting. As someone from Missouri here with being a Broncos fan, I know that I am just not going to be able to watch, Chiefs games with my future wife. Just not going to be in the cards. Do you even watch games with her, Jake?
Yeah. So here's where I'm at with that. I had to watch 4th and 31 last year with her, which I had to watch us give up a 99-yard drive at home to Bryce Young with her. I don't know how it can get any worse. So at this point, I might as well just watch it with her, just on the off chance that we pull one out of our ass. Because at that point, what I talked about? I'm not going to walk in and talk trash or whatever. The first time that Auburn beats Alabama and I'm watching it with her, that will be the test of our.
That will be the day Jake dies.
Yes, that will be because I have all this build. You talked about who was like a volcano that was just building up yesterday. That's me. I'm Mount Vesuvius. I'm Kilimanjaro. I'm
That's
Hawaiian volcano, which is a big one. Yeah. All right. So that's me at this point.
Oh boy. Good stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's tough out there. Tough sledding as a Broncos fan too.
Yeah, look, it's tough out here in these streets. But I'm dead inside, Ben, so
I'll
it really doesn't matter.
Here.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, everybody else, Connor, Braden, whoever's on the line, y'all call in tomorrow, please.
Pongo, just say Pongo. We got you. So we got a great show for you tomorrow, and a certain former NFL guy that has an interesting take on the new hip drop tackle. All right. Neither one of my legs are asleep this morning. It's a great start. All right, so let's go and put my bets up here. Brought to you by betonline.ag.
BetOnline.ag. Look how cool our board is.
Look at our cool board.
Look how cool it is. It's touchscreen.
It's glorious. Don't touch it. Hey, yeah, it's touchscreen. I can touch myself on the screen.
Clip it.
No.
Clip it. My guy's a walking clip. I feel like I'm gonna walk outside.
David the other day was like, I'm in love with multiple guys. Yeah, and nobody clips that.
We just remember what you just said now.
Does he keep making up stuff?
No, you said that, Dave. Believe me. As somebody
yesterday I was kissing.
I'm
not even gonna say it now.
More time than a snitch in the mob.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised if I come in here one morning and Sports Clips is over there in the corner cutting Jake's hair.
So 4-0 last 2 days, but nobody's talking about it. Nobody's saying a word about it.
You are.
Want to know why?
You just brought it
Want to know
up.
why? It's his 0-0 mindset, Han Solo. Here's what
it.
I got.
That's supposed to be an insult.
Give me the Canes at home, down
Yes.
2-0.
How dare you?
Plus 145. I'll take them at plus money. I think it's going to be 3-2. Empty netter, 4-2. We get a cover. And then the Celtics. I just keep trying to imagine in my mind a way in which the Cavs can stay in this thing. But if Derek White keeps playing like this with J-Tay and J-Bro on the side, even without Porzingis, the Celtics are a problem. That's minus 13.5 at minus 110. What do you got?
All right. I thought I went 0-2 yesterday, but I've been reliably informed that I went 1-1, so I'll take that. How about we go Stars tonight? Money line. Stars down in that series to the Avalanche. Got game 2 at home. Stars, money line, minus 130, and then the Thunder, minus 5 at minus 110.
All right. I love it. Missed 2 bets yesterday just to feel something. All right.
How did it feel?
Yesterday?
How did it
Didn't feel great, so we're back on track.
Hey, look at
I'm
this.
so sorry.
Look. It's
What is
Blaine
this?
Solo.
What do y'all do back there?
With you.
I like your outfit, Han.
Are y'all the kid who just doodles on their notebook in class?
Oh, dude, that's
First
good.
of all,
you need
first
to
of
post
all,
that.
That's me and old boy cruising through the galaxy.
Do your Chewbacca. Do your Chewbacca. This is good. See how good that is?
Me and old boy cruising through the galaxy, all right?
I love it. I'm a
Bring
fan.
my bets up here, because I forgot what they
So
were.
sorry about that. That missed out.
Thank you. All right, going back to the Nerfy. Give me Mariners Twins. Logan Gilbert on the mound. Hashtag you're out. Minus 156. And give me Royals and Angels, also Nerfy. Minus 122.
Love it. Ace, what do you got for us today? All right, Ace. Oh, we're pretty much double bet buds. It's like diet bet buds on both. He's taking the Celtics minus 13.5 at minus 110, but he's going to take the Canes money line instead of minus 1.5. That's at minus 175. All right, you have to stay hot. Nobody's talking about it. What's the Butcher Club doing?
It's good to see the donations here. SGR with the $5 donation.
Thanks,
Appreciate
dog.
it. Is it possible to love 2 teams equally if when they play against each other, you always go for the home team, even neutral sites have home in a way?
No, not acceptable. No.
It's like when like parents say they love their kids equally. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, you have 3 of them, David. So technically, that's like 33.3%. 3. You know what? I'm not dumb.
Yeah, let's not walk down that
I barely
road right now.
passed it.
$5 donation from Jack Hogan. There's a difference between buying guys and utilizing NIL. Personally, I love Harbaugh's senior-centric approach. Want that at Auburn.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's right.
Yeah. $5 donation from Christopher Walton. 14-year anniversary yesterday, fellas. I'm leveling
Let's go,
up to
baby.
37, and my daughter Charlie is turning 8 today.
God, so
what a
much
time to
going
be
on.
alive. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers, Chris. Congrats, buddy.
man.
$10 donation from Knowles. Never forget when DJU outperforms Jake's low expectation. Wants the over-under on Jake releasing a video of himself crying on Twitter about how much he loves FSU like Herb Street did.
I would say 0%.
Yeah.
0% chance.
Y'all act like I'm saying Florida State's going to go 6-6. All I'm saying is I don't think DJU throws the ball very well.
I hope y'all go 13-0, miss the playoffs. That's what I hope.
Well, some men just want to see the world burn.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
All right, $2 donation for another from SGR. Jake's new nickname needs to be Tobias Funke.
Funke. I'm a never nude. The dude showered in jorts. I'm telling you, Arrested Development.
Dude, what's that actor's name?
David Cross.
There's things going around all TikTok. It's like saying people's records and then just saying David Cross broke it in the craziest way. You'll love it.
Is
Dude,
Arrested
David Cross
Development
is-
better than Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Yeah.
You said it's Arrested Development better than Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's better.
Yes.
But
Well,
Parks and
other
Rec's-
than the last couple seasons, but that typically happens with every show.
But you still liked Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That's good. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine is good, too.
Well, I think Chris Pratt's hilarious.
Okay.
And he's
Lot coming at
He's
me.
the best part.
$2 donation from Timothy from GB. That's Green Bay. Calling it now. Wisconsin goes undefeated. Why'd you donate just to lie? $5 donation
In
from
what? Cheese curting?
Tibbs 2828. As a Notre Dame fan, Brian Kelly can never win the big games, and he's a terrible motivator.
Here they
He's a great
come.
coach otherwise.
Here they
He
come.
said he's a great coach otherwise. He can't win big games. He can't
You
motivate.
can't recruit.
But other than that,
Yeah.
man, the dude's a stud.
$2 donation from Steve Miller. Jake saying touching himself and riding the hot guy. What is going on?
You know, all I try and do is get on here and tell you, like Blaine said touchscreen. Blaine said touchscreen, and I was on the screen. I was like, oh, I can touch myself on the screen.
It's my fault.
And
you said it again.
well, you're going to clip it anyway. I might as well embrace it.
So you should embrace touching yourself on the screen, is what you're saying.
I think OnlyFans started.
That's right. All right, poll. Who will be the best QB in the SEC this year? Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck,
Him.
Jalen Milroe, or other?
Give me Carson back, 41%.
That's high.
That's high.
45% Carson Beck.
Jalen Milroe, 18%. Quinn Ewers, 21%. Carson Beck, 27%.
Wow, that's
other
pretty tight.
34%.
Really?
Wow.
A lot of people riding Jackson Dart.
Oh, a lot of LSU fans in here putting
Nuss Buzz
on there. That's
the new
I
Nuss
guarantee
Buzz.
you that's what it is. But Jackson, I can understand that. All right, we appreciate you guys. Shout out to our sponsors for today, Bet Online, K9 Salute, and GenuCell. Go check that out. I guarantee the promo code's probably Booster. Thanks for Matt Muscona for hopping on. Got a great show for you tomorrow. Should I tell him who's on tomorrow?
Tell him, son.
Sean Merriman joining us tomorrow.
Sean Merriman, Chargers fans everywhere, unite, join us.
Yeah, he's got some very interesting things to say about Jim Harbaugh and some of the new rules, and he just
made
bought like a sports channel, so we're really excited for Sean. He's a great dude. We appreciate y'all, and like the chances of LSU finishing at 108th in total defense again, we're going. Gone.